Hey guys, I'm FatBuddyCat, and this is my custom vintage mini bike. In this video, I'm gonna make some serious progress. Well guys, D-Day is upon us. The weather is not looking good. In order to JB weld all of the rough spots on this thing and have any expectation for it to dry in order for me to smooth it out are not looking good at this time. So, without further ado, I'm really going to smack this thing. I'm going to hit it with every can of grill paint I have. Alright. My prep work is done. That's right. I'm not even going to sand these things. This ain't a show bike. This is a go bike, guys. I want to have fun. There's not even any sandpaper in sight. I'm going to let the paint do all the talking. Guys, this is so much fun. If I could do this with no hands, I probably would. What's O&R Ride say? Ride them like you stole them? Man, we gonna paint them like we stole them. I am actually having fun painting right now. All I have to do is sit and wait in between coats. When they're done drying, I flip them over like cyborg meat pancakes. That's all there is to it. Where this part of the chassis is going to be underneath the seat, and this one is going to be underneath the motor, I'm probably gonna prime those and sand them first. I'm not gonna do that. The wind has picked up tremendously. The silver paint is giving me a hard time because it's cold out. The poor black paint is right in the kill zone. I'm gonna have to move it over there somewhere. It's about 38 degrees in this garage, so we'll give this a couple hours to cure up before I throw it all back together again. Take me about an hour. The first thing to go on is the swing arm. And then the rear suspension with the torsion bar. It's a great time to put the pegs on too. Do as much as I can with this thing upside down. I saved a little bit of this grill paint so that I could touch up the fork. I'll just hold it up, spray it, lean it up somewhere, let it dry for about 10 minutes. I have the fork on. I'm going to flip it over and install the jack shaft. The jack shaft is completely installed. The next thing up, get my wheels on, and then I'll be able to flip it over and work everything else from the top. When installing the back wheel for reals on this bike, what you do is measure from the center of your jack shaft back to the center of the rear axle. Do that on both sides. And there's no way that that's not parallel to the drive, which would make it square. That little guy right there, that's my variable. These wheels don't have a solid hub. They're two pieces, everything's bolted together, and it's difficult to guarantee that everything is completely straight with the wheel and the sprocket itself. What I've found is if you pay attention to it, you can kind of find a spot where the chain might carry a little more tension. So, see how it dropped right there a little bit? Okay, so it's not perfect, but when you sit on this bike, the chain tensions as you put pressure on the suspension. With it upside down, it can be difficult to determine exactly where that is, so I'm going to leave it plenty slack for now. Get that front wheel on. This is a good time to put the handlebars on and run the brake. I'm going to go ahead and put the band on. I still have to get the right hardware for some of these things, so I get everything mounted. I'm going to go around with the list and I'll check everything off and go after it one by one afterwards. That way, the whole entire bike is double checked. The same goes for any cables that we're running. I'm going to leave them long right now, and then at the end, tighten everything up. I went and grabbed some 1" by 1/4" aluminum bar stock, drilled a couple holes in it. These are solving a huge problem that I was having with this mini bike. I'm super excited. I'm going to go clean up these edges and I'll get back to you. Keep this thing going. Alright, I just took down the edges and got them roughly the same length. Where these are going, you're not really going to see them. It's 2 pair. And here is what those pieces of aluminum are for. When paired together, they become 1/2" engine risers. That 1/2" allows me to come back all the way on those slots that I made. We still have an oil dump, but the motor can slide completely forward, even further if the pegs are off, to access the valve cover, exhaust, spark plug, anything like that. Our oil change, we just loosen the 4 bolts, bring the motor forward, do what we got to do. We put it back up. We're now within the distance that we need from the center of my pulley shaft to the center of my output shaft. We can properly run a stock 30 series belt with that Torquezilla. Probably the most important reason for doing this is to acquire more foot peg room. In acquiring more, we're going to be able to use less. So, I'll be cutting both of these at the exact same length from the chassis itself. That way, everything looks symmetrical. Plus, we know it's going to work. We have some guards and stuff to put around here too. On the brake band, I got the 3/8 hardware situated so that I have a couple washers all around my spacer, and that is a nylock nut back in here. That's all that's back in there. So all I have to do is get my wrench up under here, hold on to it, and tighten it here. At this length, you just go all the way in until everything's just snug. Should be just right. Here it is, all tightened up. You can see that the brake band is much more centered on our drum. That's going to give us the best stopping power we can get by the shoe itself that's on the band having the best or most amount of contact area that it possibly can. We still have adjustment. We can make it tighter, looser, do whatever we want, but it moves freely, and my grade 8 bolt goes all the way up against the frame. The reason I did that is to help the bolt or the stud laterally, so that instead of doing this, it's kind of locked up against a solid surface. I flipped my shock back over and made sure I had the right size hardware for both of my mounts. Nylock nuts. Looking good there. Shouldn't have any clearance issues with an exhaust either. By that, I mean if we hang a muffler off this thing. This header is going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to be taking it off and wrapping it and then reinstalling it. This, on the other hand, is not going to be as straightforward. What this is a Big Bertha. It's a chain guard, motor guard, exhaust guard, all in one. I think these are made for the cart guys, but we'll be able to manipulate it and use it here too. Here we are with Big Bertha mounted on the side of the motor. It's slightly adjustable. However, we're going to be keeping it on the lower adjustment. If I grab the old Torquezilla here, you can see we have plenty of clearance when it's all the way down. We already discussed that I'm going to wrap that exhaust, but this will do a fine job at keeping the leg of the operator away from it. It's probably going to be me, and I don't like having sizzling bacon on my thighs. So
we're going to have to cut this thing back. I'll show you. When you go to sit on it, it's just right there against the inside of my leg. So it'll definitely keep us from getting those bacon strips, but it's causing some interference as well. We still have to add a seat to this, so we'll be going up a little bit, but it's not going to be anything extreme. Nothing like, you know who over there in the corner. So, I'm going to make a line and cut this thing off somewhere, probably just below parallel of the frame. That'll keep us away from that header, and it should we're going to be probably like an inch above that header is where I'm going to shoot for, so let's see what happens. I'm having a super hard time deciding which way I want to carry my line. If I come through somewhat level, then we give up the corner where that header comes up a little bit on the arc. If we come up to this point here and then cut back across, just concentrating on the bottom of the chassis, then it might have kind of a peak thing going. I think I'm going to cut it that way and just see what this looks like when you're sitting on it, whether or not that's just going to be a really dangerous angle, because if that is, this would be much better. So it's aluminum, I'm not welding it, I'm just going to make the cut. It's got to be at least that low, so win or lose, we're at least making ground. Oh, I'm super glad that I left that extra cyborg meat up here, because once we add the seat and everything, and your feet are on the pegs, you're not going to be near this. I'm going to round this out so it's not sharp, but I think that's pretty sweet. That's what it looks like from the side. I'm going to take that little peak off the front and just run it right with the line that I made. That way it follows the bottom of that chassis on the seat pan area. And from there, I'll just round out all the edges the best I can. All said and done, we'll see if we can get some kind of tubing or something to put along the top of this to really take the curse off it. Depends how hot this thing gets too, you know what I'm saying? There you go, guys. I went ahead and nipped off that sharp corner that was back here. I rounded out the edge on the front, the back, and the top. This is almost kind of rounded like. I rounded the corner here and this one over here. There's no need to take any of this out. When you sit on the bike, it doesn't even touch the bottom of my leg right now, and we still have to add the seat. That's great. If I put the pulley and the driver into alignment, the driver is going to set right about there. It's just outside on the face here, but you know what I mean? I have a little bit of space here. We're going to do something there. It's not that bad. In comparison to that one there, this really isn't any more hazardous. We should be able to still nip those pegs too. A little for instance. Okay? So, I've been riding this thing fine. If that works, I think that's going to work. Well, guys, we only have a few more things to do before we have a fully operational mini bike. I got to wrap that header. That's no big deal. I have my foot peg covers from my friends at OMB Warehouse. I have a few ideas for this carburetor installation. Not sure which one we're going to go with yet. And this seat, well, just like everything else, that's going to be a work in progress. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night. Now catch you on the next one.